There's a doctor in Chicago making $380,000 a year. She drives a leased BMW. Her kids go to private school. She eats at restaurants most weeknights. Her mortgage payment is $4,200 monthly. On paper, she's wealthy. In reality, she can't come up with $5,000 without selling something or going into debt. This isn't a hypothetical. According to a 2025 Goldman Sachs report, 41% of Americans earning between $300,000 and $500,000 live paycheck to paycheck. 40% of those earning over $500,000 report the same thing. Read that again. For out of 10 people making $500,000 annually feel they have no financial cushion. They earn more in a month than many Americans earn in a year, yet they experience the same financial anxiety as someone earning a fraction of their salary. The assumption most people carry is that income solves financial problems. Hit six figures and the stress disappears. Pass $200,000 and you're set. Cross $500,000 and money becomes irrelevant. The data tells a completely different story. What you're witnessing is called the high-income poverty trap. People earn more, spend more, save the same percentage of nothing, and wake up at 55 wondering where it all went. The trap doesn't care how much you make, it only cares how much you keep. This isn't about judging anyone's spending. It's about understanding a financial pattern that affects millions of Americans who never see it coming, because they assume high income equals financial security. Let me show you exactly how the trap works, who falls into it, and how to know if you're already caught. The numbers reveal something counterintuitive about financial stress in America. According to research cited by multiple financial institutions in 2025, Americans earning $100,000 annually are more likely to report living paycheck to paycheck than those earning $50,000. Higher income correlates with higher reported financial strain in certain brackets. A PIMPS study found that 48% of those earning $100,000 or more feel they're living paycheck to paycheck. Among those earning over $200,000, 36% report the same. Bank of America's analysis, which defined paycheck to paycheck as spending more than 95% of income on necessities, found that approximately 20% of households earning over $150,000 qualify. Nearly 24% of all American households meet this definition in 2025. These aren't people who can't do math. They're often highly educated professionals in demanding careers. They understand compound interest and retirement projections. They know they should save more. The trap operates on psychology, not arithmetic. When income increases, spending increases in direct proportion. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it happens so gradually that most people never notice. A $15 lunch becomes a $25 lunch. The Honda becomes a BMW. The adequate apartment becomes a house with a guest room no one uses. Each individual upgrade feels reasonable. You earned it. You can afford it. The math technically works, but the upgrades compound while savings stay flat. And once a luxury becomes routine, downgrading feels like deprivation rather than returning to normal. The research on actual millionaires tells a completely different story than how most high earners live. The classic study from the Millionaire Next Door revealed that most millionaires don't look like millionaires at all. They live in average neighborhoods, drive older cars, and rarely display their wealth. Research from Ramsey Solutions found that 94% of millionaires still live in middle-class or modest neighborhoods. A 2025 Empower study showed that over 62% of everyday millionaires still budget, shop deals, and avoid extravagant lifestyles, even after crossing the $1 million threshold. The typical millionaire has rarely spent more than $399 on an article of clothing. About 60% live in homes worth less than $500,000. Warren Buffett still lives in the same house he bought in 1958 for $31,500. This creates a fascinating paradox. The people who actually accumulate wealth behave nothing like the people who appear wealthy. The doctor driving the leased BMW looks richer than the plumber who drives a 10-year-old truck but has $2 million in investments. The authors of the Millionaire Next Door created useful categories: PAWs, Prodigious Accumulators of Wealth, and UAWs, Underaccumulators of Wealth. A $50,000 a year janitor can be more of a PAW than a $700,000 a year doctor. The spending habits determine the category, not the income level. Their formula? Multiply your age by your pre-tax annual household income, then divide by 10. That number represents what your net worth should be. A 50-year-old earning $250,000 should have approximately $1.25 million. Those below this threshold are underaccumulators, spending their income rather than building wealth. Most high earners fail this test dramatically. The Charles Schwab 2025 Modern Wealth Survey found that Americans believe you need $2.3 million to be considered wealthy. They believe you need $839,000 just to feel financially comfortable. Meanwhile, the median net worth of American households is approximately $193,000. The gap between what people think they need and what they actually have is enormous. Here's where psychology takes over. When you earn $400,000 but have a net worth of $300,000, you don't feel wealthy. You feel behind. The hedonic treadmill keeps moving, and you keep running to stay in place. 63% of respondents in Schwab's survey said it feels like it takes more money to be wealthy today compared to last year. The goalposts keep moving. Someone achieves a net worth of $500,000 and looks up to see that comfortable now requires $839,000. They reach $1 million and discover that wealthy now means $2.3 million. No amount ever feels like enough because the definition of enough keeps changing. The spending patterns reveal how the trap operates in real life. High-income households earning over $100,000 had an average credit card balance of $12,760 in 2025, according to multiple research sources. The top 20% of earners hold 35% of total U.S. credit card debt, despite representing a smaller share of the population. This seems paradoxical until you understand how credit functions differently at higher incomes. Lower-income households use credit to survive. They're financing necessities because cash runs out before the month does. Higher-income households use credit to maintain. They're financing a lifestyle that technically fits their income but leaves no margin for error. Both end up in the same place, owing money to someone else with interest accruing. Total U.S. credit card debt reached $1.277 trillion in Q4 2025, according to Federal Reserve data. That's the highest balance since tracking began in 1999, up 66% since the pandemic lows of early 2021. According to Bankrate's 2025 research, 36% of credit card holders earning $100,000 or more carry a balance from month to month. That's lower than lower income brackets, but it's not the near zero percentage you'd expect from people earning top-tier salaries. 61% of Americans with credit card debt have been in debt for at least a year, up from 53% the previous year. Debt is becoming chronic rather than temporary, even for high earners. The fixed cost trap is particularly dangerous for high-income households. When you're earning $50,000, your housing cost is constrained by what landlords will approve. When you're earning $300,000, you qualify for mortgages that stretch your budget just as thin, but involve much larger numbers. A family earning $80,000 might spend $2,000 monthly on housing. A family earning $300,000 might spend $8,000. Both families have roughly the same percentage of income going to shelter. Both families feel equally constrained. The higher income family has more expensive problems, but the same fundamental lack of flexibility. Private school tuition, multiple car payments, vacation home carrying costs, country club memberships. These aren't frivolous expenses in the traditional sense. They're lifestyle commitments that function like fixed costs once established. Pulling a child out of private school feels impossible. Selling the vacation home feels like failure. Downgrading the car feels like a public admission that things aren't going well. The trap tightens precisely because the lifestyle is so difficult to reverse. According to Clarify Capital Research, six-figure earners are responding to financial pressure in revealing ways. 47% are delaying dream vacations. 31% are stalling home renovations. 26% are postponing buying cars. 17% are pushing back buying houses. These delays signal something important. High earners recognize they're stretched thin. They just haven't changed the underlying spending patterns that created the constraint. The savings rate tells the full story. According to the Bureau of Economic Analysis, the U.S. personal savings rate stood at 3.6% in December 2025. Americans are saving approximately $3.60 of every $100 in disposable income. During the pandemic peak in April 2020, the savings rate hit 33.8%. Stimulus checks arrived, spending opportunities disappeared, and Americans accidentally experienced what aggressive saving felt like. That money is gone now. This pattern holds across income levels, which is the crucial insight. Higher earners save slightly more in absolute dollars, but their savings rates often remain just as anemic because their spending scales with their income. Someone earning $75,000 who saves 4% accumulates $3,000 annually. Someone earning $300,000 who saves 4% accumulates $12,000 annually. The higher earner is saving 4 times as much, but relative to their income and lifestyle costs, they're equally vulnerable to disruption. Compare this to the behavior of actual wealth accumulators. Research from the Millionaire Next Door found that millionaires typically invest at least 15% of their annual income before paying for necessities. They pay themselves first, treating savings as non-negotiable rather than aspirational. The difference between 4% and 15% compounds dramatically over time. After 30 years, the 15% saver has built substantial wealth, while the 4% saver has accumulated a modest cushion that probably won't sustain a comfortable retirement. Social comparison accelerates the trap. The phenomenon researchers call lifestyle creep has always existed. What's changed is visibility. Social media shows everyone else's vacations, renovations, and purchases in real time. A 2025 Goldman Sachs report explicitly cited keeping up with the Joneses as a driver of paycheck to paycheck living among high earners. Six-figure workers feel pressure to match peer spending even when the math doesn't support it. This creates a bizarre dynamic where people earning top 5% incomes feel financially inadequate because they're comparing themselves to the top 1% or to carefully curated social media versions of people who might be even more leveraged than they are. The comparison isn't just against neighbors anymore. It's against everyone visible in a feed filtered to show only the highlights. Discretionary spending data reveals where the money actually goes. According to Empower Data, food delivery spending increased 10.2% year over year, from $162.40 to $179 monthly. Streaming service spending grew 12.5%. Rideshare spending increased 7.9%. These are convenience categories. Each individual expense is small. Coffee chains, delivery apps, subscription services, nobody notices the gradual accumulation. But $179 monthly on food delivery is $2,148 annually. Add streaming services, rideshares, subscription boxes, premium apps, and the total creeps towards significant money that vanishes without providing lasting value. The high-income version of this pattern involves larger numbers, but identical psychology. First-class flights instead of economy. Hotels instead of Airbnbs. Restaurants instead of home cooking. Each upgrade feels minor, but they compound into a lifestyle that requires the full income to maintain. Research shows that millionaires spend differently. About 44% spend more on experiences than luxury goods, but they're selective about which experiences matter. They spend on what they value and cut ruthlessly elsewhere. This selective frugality distinguishes actual wealth builders from high earners caught in the poverty trap. The regional dimension adds another layer. In Schwab's survey, residents of San Francisco said you need $4.4 million to be considered wealthy. Southern California residents said $3.4 million. New Yorkers said $2.9 million. Living in high-cost areas inflates both expenses and expectations simultaneously. A $300,000 income in Kansas City provides a dramatically different lifestyle than the same income in Manhattan or San Francisco. Someone earning $350,000 in New York might genuinely feel financially constrained because their housing costs, taxes, and baseline expenses consume a larger portion of their income than someone earning half as much in a lower-cost market. They're earning coastal salaries and paying coastal prices, which often cancel out the income advantage. The contrast with actual millionaires is stark. Research consistently shows that 79% of millionaires are self-made, receiving no inheritance. Only 31% averaged $100,000 or more annually over their careers. Many built wealth on modest incomes through consistent behavior over long periods. 73% of millionaires never carried a credit card balance. They understood that compound interest works for you or against you, and they chose to stay on the right side of that equation. The average millionaire worked, saved, and invested for 28 years before crossing the $1 million threshold. Most didn't reach it until around age 49. The path was gradual and boring, not dramatic and sudden. This timeline matters because it shows what the high-income poverty trap costs. Someone earning $300,000 who saves nothing for 15 years has foregone the most valuable compounding years. Even if they start saving later, they've lost time that can never be recovered. The escape route exists but requires uncomfortable choices. Breaking the high-income poverty trap demands confronting a question most people avoid. What is all this spending actually for? The doctor making $380,000 could save $100,000 annually if she chose to. She earns enough. She just spends enough to prevent it. Choosing differently means accepting that the BMW can be a Honda, that private school might not be necessary, that restaurants every night serve convenience more than nutrition, that the house with guest rooms mostly impresses people who don't matter. These sound like judgments, but they're just trade-offs made visible. Someone who genuinely values private education and fine dining should spend on those things, but they should do so consciously, understanding the opportunity cost, not automatically because that's what people at their income level do. The high-income poverty trap isn't about deprivation. It's about intention. Most people trapped in it never consciously chose their spending patterns. They accumulated expenses gradually, each decision reasonable in isolation, until their entire income was committed. Reversing the pattern requires auditing every recurring expense and asking whether it still delivers value proportional to its cost. Often the answer is no. Subscriptions go unused, square footage goes unoccupied, vehicles go underdriven. Memberships provide status more than utility. The automation principle works at any income level. Saving what's left after spending doesn't work. Spending what's left after saving does. Someone earning $400,000 who automates $120,000 annually to investments will accumulate significant wealth regardless of how they spend the remaining $280,000. They'll still live well. They'll just live less well than someone earning the same amount and saving nothing. The delta between those two people compounds dramatically over time. After 20 years of consistent investing, the saver has generational wealth. The spender has lifestyle memories and minimal assets. The math is straightforward. If you earn $300,000 and save 30%, you accumulate $90,000 annually before investment returns. At 7% average returns over 20 years, that becomes roughly $4 million. If you earn $300,000 and save 5%, you accumulate $15,000 annually. Same returns and timeline produce approximately $650,000. The difference is $3.35 million. That's the cost of the high-income poverty trap over 2 decades. The high-income poverty trap persists because people optimize for the wrong variable. Optimizing for lifestyle means maximizing current consumption at the expense of future flexibility. Optimizing for wealth means accepting current constraint in exchange for future options. Neither approach is inherently correct, but only one leads to the financial security that high earners assume their income should provide. A $200,000 income with a 30% savings rate builds wealth faster than a $400,000 income with a 5% savings rate. The math isn't complicated. The behavior is. 77% of Americans don't feel financially comfortable, regardless of what they earn. 40% of those making $500,000 live paycheck to paycheck. Total credit card debt hit all-time highs, while incomes remained near record levels. The evidence is overwhelming. Income alone doesn't solve financial problems. Only intentional choices about what portion of income to keep rather than spend create the security that most people assume high incomes automatically provide. The trap is real. Breaking it is possible. But it requires admitting that more money was never the answer. What you do with money always was.